Matthew Duss is Executive Vice President of the Center for International Policy. He joins us now live from Washington, D.C. So, Matthew, in the last couple of hours, you and I spoke. We talked about this issue of tariffs. Of course, Trump has imposed a 17% tariff on Israel. You had said to me that that's something that Netanyahu would want to raise with Donald Trump, perhaps try to get him to reverse it, negotiate it down. Based on what you heard coming out of that press conference, how do you think that went for Netanyahu?
I don't think it went very well. I mean, I saw no evidence that Trump was willing to relent. He seems to feel pretty strongly that this formula that he and his team have come up with is the way to kind of, satisfy the promises that he made to change the American economy in a way that benefits the American people and the American worker. I'm skeptical that these blunt instruments and this formula is the way to do it. That's not to say that there isn't a place for tariffs, but I think the way that Trump is going about it, I have real questions, as I think many people do, that these tariffs are going to make the change that he wants. But it didn't seem that he was willing to relent and satisfy Netanyahu there.
Matthew, Donald Trump spoke in that press conference about Iran quite a bit. That's something that came up. And one of the headlines that emerged is that he said that there were direct talks that were happening between the U.S. and Iran. A lot of people seemed surprised at that. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, what we've heard from the Iranians so far indicate that the Iranians are not interested in direct talks, but rather indirect talks with the U.S. Does it seem to you as though perhaps direct talks might be happening? And if so, where might that lead?
I mean, it's unclear if direct talks are happening. That is a big scoop. That's a big piece of news. So we'll have to see whether Trump spoke out of turn, whether he really understands what he means by direct talks versus, indirect talks or through intermediaries. But personally, I think this is a great idea. The United States and Iran should be talking directly. I think this was a breakthrough back in the Obama administration when the U.S. and Iran finally, after many years of simply shouting at each other over a chasm, chose to sit down together and had a breakthrough with the JCPOA. Whether or not this is actually true, I think it does signal Trump's interest in talking with Iran, and I think that's positive. Ultimately, the way to deal with Iran's nuclear program and the challenge it poses is through negotiation and diplomacy, and I very much hope Trump is committed to that.
All right, Matthew Duss, Executive Vice President of the Center for International Policy. Thanks so much for joining us here on Al Jazeera.
Thank you.